What is up, everybody? Right now we are going to take a look at the Galaxy S7 and compare it to the iPhone 7 and see which one you should get in 2018. Now the Galaxy S7 and the iPhone 7 came out around the same time. They actually came out the same year, but they were a couple months away from each other. The Galaxy S7 came out in March of 2016 and the iPhone 7 came out in September of 2016. So really, in terms of the timing of these phones, they came out at the same time almost. Now, in terms of the body, I will definitely say the Galaxy S7 feels a little bit more premium than the iPhone 7. But the cool thing about the iPhone 7 is that the home button feels a lot more better on the iPhone 7 than the Galaxy S7. And that has everything to do with because it's a virtual button. It's just a vibration motor. It's not an actual button that presses down like the Galaxy S7. And over time, it kind of starts feeling cheap on the Galaxy S7 because it kind of gets a little flimsy. But on the iPhone 7, it will never be like that because it's not even a real button. But since the Galaxy S7 does have glass on the back, it does make it feel a little bit more premium, so I will give it that. But what I always say is that I always prefer Apple's fingerprint sensor on the iPhones and iPads and all those things than the Android counterparts and their fingerprint sensors. So that being said, yes, the body is more premium on the Galaxy S7, but I like the iPhone 7 for the home button, so just keep that in mind. Now, in terms of the screen, the iPhone 7 has a 4.7-inch 750p IPS panel, and it's okay. It's not the greatest ever, and it will never be, but it gets the job done. And because it's not a humongous screen, you won't really notice too many pixels that aren't there or all that stuff. But the Galaxy S7, however, you have a Super AMOLED screen. It's 5.1 inches, and it's 1440p, so that thing will be able to handle anything you throw at it. You'll definitely like it. I like the Galaxy S7 screen way more than the iPhone 7's. But one thing the iPhone 7 does have is 3D touch or Force touch, and that is something I always love, and I use it all the time on my iPhone, so that is something to keep in mind. Now, switching to the software and hardware kind of more so, I will say, and I say this with every Android and iOS comparison, that an Android could technically have better specs on paper than an iPhone 7 or an iPhone like iOS device, but still not be as fast as it because it's just different operating systems. We're comparing apples and oranges, or apples and Androids, so just keep that in mind. I mean, there's really no easy way to say it and no easy way to test it besides actually using both, and I've actually owned both, so let's just get on with it. With the Galaxy S7 though, it started off getting Android 6.0 Marshmallow, but now you can get Android 8.0 Oreo on it, and it runs it fairly well. It's not that bad overall, but I think this is the last update that the Galaxy S7 is getting, so that is something you need to remember if you're planning on getting this, that it will probably already be out of date. I don't think it's getting Android 9.0. But on the iPhone 7, however, it started off getting iOS 10.0.1, and now you can get iOS 11.4.1 as of me making this video, but it's going to get iOS 12 and iOS 13, and most probably iOS 14 as well. So this thing still has so much life left in it, and if you get it now, you'll be able to use it and have updates on it all the time. But the thing with the Galaxy S7 is that if you're willing to root and custom ROM your phone, you can possibly prolong the life of it. I'm not too sure how big the development community is behind the Galaxy S7, but that is an option, so keep that in mind. On the iPhone 7 and iOS devices, you don't necessarily have that option. Now, in terms of performance, I'm going to say these specs and I'll elaborate on them further, but the Galaxy S7 has the Exynos 8890 chipset. It has an octa-core CPU clocked at 2.3 GHz and 4 GB of RAM, where the iPhone 7 has the Apple A10 Fusion chip, a quad-core CPU clocked at 2.34 GHz and 2 GB of RAM. Now, what all this means is that pretty much the Galaxy S7 is just a little bit slower than the iPhone 7, which is surprising because the Galaxy S7 is still a pretty fast phone, don't get me wrong. But the iPhone 7 is just a little bit faster than the Galaxy S7 in my opinion. And that has a lot to do with TouchWiz. Now, at this time when the Galaxy S7 was released, TouchWiz was starting to get a little bit better, but it still wasn't perfect, and even now it still isn't perfect if I'm being honest. But just know that in terms of performance, gaming, everything, I do find it to be better on the iPhone 7, and I do notice the Galaxy S7 does heat up a little bit more than the iPhone 7 when you're gaming and everything. Maybe that has something to do with the glass back, but I'm not really too sure, so I'm not about to spread rumors out there. But yeah, that's pretty much it for performance. Now, switching to the cameras, they both have 12 megapixel sensors, and they both can pretty much shoot the same video qualities as well. The iPhone 7 can shoot 1080p at 120 frames per second, where the Galaxy S7 cannot, but they both shoot 4K videos, and they both shoot 720p videos at 240 frames per second. Now, in my opinion, I do think the iPhone 7 is just a little bit better, in terms of photo quality, and I think in terms of video quality, you can't really go wrong with either. And it's really hard to tell which one is better than the other. But I will say, in my opinion, if the iPhone 7 was like 100% in camera quality, the Galaxy S7 would probably be like a 90%. There's just some minor small things that kind of bug me. I don't think that the Galaxy S7 blurs out a background a little bit just as much as the iPhone 7 does. So that's just my opinion. Now, in terms of the front cameras, the Galaxy S7 has a 5 megapixel camera. The iPhone 7 has a 7 megapixel camera. And, I don't want to spend too much time on it, but they're both front cameras. They're both okay. The Galaxy S7 can shoot 1440p video on the front camera, where the iPhone 7 can only shoot 1080p video. So that's something to keep in mind when whichever phone you want to get. Now, in terms of the battery life, I do kind of have better battery life on the Galaxy S7 over the iPhone 7. And it's surprising because I kind of found the iPhone 7 battery life not to be too horrible. It was more so middle of the road. It wasn't as good as the 7 Plus or anything, but the Galaxy S7 has a 3000 mAh battery. The iPhone 7 has a 1916 mAh battery. And really, it's up to you to choose, which one you want. But in my usage, I do think the Galaxy S7 does have a better time using the battery that it has. With the iPhone 7, it seems like by the end of the day, you definitely have to charge it. With the Galaxy S7, you could probably go a little bit longer without having to do so. Now, some other notable things to note. Now, this is a big one, and I have to spend a little bit of time talking about it. The Galaxy S7 does have a microSD card slot, and that's kind of important. And the reason that is important is because you could technically get the smallest version or smallest storage version of the Galaxy S7, which I believe is 32 gigabytes. I might be wrong, maybe it's 64, but whatever that lowest model is. So, okay, they make the 32 gigabyte and 64 gigabyte options, and you can get that 32 gigabyte option, save some money, and then just buy a microSD card slot. You can easily get a 32 gigabyte microSD card for like $4 or like $10 or something. And you can get like a 100 gigabyte one or whatever, 128 gigabyte one for like $15, $16, $20. And you can spend that extra money gaining that much storage. But on the iPhone 7, you're just kind of trapped on the amount you have, which kind of sucks a little bit because you have to spend more money in order to get a 64, 128, or 256 gigabyte option. They only come in 32, 128, and 256 gigabyte options. So you definitely don't want to get a 32. That's completely out of the question. So your main choices are 128 and 256. And 128 is still a lot of storage, but 256 is just a little bit more. But you can expand the Galaxy S7's microSD card up to 256 gigabytes. So that is something to note. I mean, it's a long kind of process to talk about, but every time I see a phone with a microSD card that comes in different variants of storage, I always recommend people getting the lowest storage option and then going to put a microSD card in, unless the higher memory storage options do have more features or something. But yeah, that's pretty much that. The Galaxy S7 also does have a headphone jack, where the iPhone 7 does not. Now, according to you, it might suck, it might not. For me, I kind of got over it, so it won't really bother me too much if I were to pick either phone. I don't plan on having, headphones or plug-in headphones. I have AirPods, I have wireless Beats and stuff, so it really doesn't make much sense for me, complaining about the headphone jack. And both of them do have fingerprint sensors, like I stated. I do find Touch ID to be better than the Android fingerprint sensors, but especially around this time, they've caught up quite a bit, but at this time, I would still say Touch ID is a little bit better than the Galaxy S7's fingerprint sensor. So in my opinion, which one would I get in 2018? I would say, if it was me, and let's just say both these phones were free, someone was giving me one of these phones, I would probably end up picking the iPhone 7. And I understand the iPhone 7 is a little bit more expensive and you can save some more money getting the Galaxy S7, but the updates really kind of bug me a little bit. I really want a phone that can, have as many updates as possible. I want as many features as I can and prolong the life of a phone. And the Galaxy S7, I mean, I can completely root it and ROM it, and that's still a viable option, but I just find having the simplicity of an iPhone and iOS to be a little bit better than the Galaxy and TouchWiz. Now, if I'm keeping them stock, that's my opinion, but if I would root it and ROM it, I would definitely probably go for the Galaxy S7, root it and throw a custom ROM on it and just keep it as it is. But even then, I still kind of look at the iPhone 7 and I'm like, I mean, it's a faster phone, has better cameras, and maybe the battery life does suck a little bit, and I do understand it's a little bit smaller. I would still kind of go for the iPhone 7, even if I were to root and ROM the Galaxy S7. So overall, I mean, really the choice is yours. You can't really go wrong with either of these phones or either of these phones. I don't know how you guys say it, but you can't really go wrong with either one. The Galaxy S7 has pros, the iPhone 7 has pros, but at the end of the day, I would probably end up picking the iPhone 7, even though it's a little bit more expensive. And even if I could root and ROM the Galaxy S7, that's just pretty much my take on it. Now, I could be wrong, but I want to hear from you guys. What is your guys' opinion? Leave them down in the comment section below. I would love to hear them. Hit that like button. That'll mean so much. But if you guys want to pick up an iPhone 7 or Galaxy S7, I find the lowest prices on Amazon, and I link them down in the description. So make sure you guys check those out. Buy them through that link so you can help out the channel and support the channel at the same time. Definitely hit that subscribe button, but we are still giving away an iPhone 6s and an iPhone SE on this channel. And in order to enter, all you have to do is subscribe to the channel and follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Both those links are down in the description, so make sure you guys enter that. I'll be picking a winner within like a month, less than a month, like 2-3 weeks from now. I just have to kind of get some stuff in order, and then I'll go ahead and ship them out to whoever. I'll be picking the winner in like 3 weeks, so make sure you follow me on Twitter and Instagram so you don't miss any announcements or anything I do. Also, check out the other links down in the description as well. My second channel, my SoundCloud, all that stuff is down there. I would really, really appreciate it if you guys could check it out. But more importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys, and hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.